Hello, everyone. It's Friday. It's Chat with Mac. We're glad to have you. For those of you that are joining us for the very first time, welcome to our podcast, I guess you can call it, or vlog, whatever, where we talk about all things, for the most part, technology. And for those of you that are our loyal watchers that are always giving some feedback, we really appreciate you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Nadeem, how's it going, sir?
Oh, it's going great.
Yeah, yeah. It's been
Another week.
another week. I think this is the second full week of the new year. It was actually kind of busy. We are doing some great things here at PCSN that we're going to talk about later on. But one thing I wanted to ask you about now, so Microsoft forever, changing stuff and doing stuff different and all that other stuff. And they've been making some pretty decent, pretty nice improvements to 365 and also Teams. So I wanted you to tell us a little bit about it because we've been using some of them this week.
Yeah. So the pace of change is just it's just crazy right now. You can post something in user voice, make a recommendation to Microsoft, and a few other users might chime in and upvote it, and then pretty soon we go in and we see that the change has been implemented, or somebody from Microsoft will chime in and say, "Oh yes, it is already on our radar, and it's going to be rolled out in next 2 months." I mean, it's crazy how quickly things are changing. So. Yeah. Change is a double-edged sword, right? So it brings new features, brings new capability, but also it can break things. I mean, after all, all the coding and development is done by humans, so there can be issues, or it could be simple as they're rolling out an update, and because of that rollout, they may have some services go into degraded mode, and users can't do certain things. So just like just a couple of days ago, there were some issues with some people not seeing their appointments in their calendars. So new new updates, new appointments in the calendar were not showing, and this was more on like shared calendars, delegated accounts, and in that scenario. But the problem is, users didn't know. Nobody knew that, so they were like, "Oh, maybe some configuration issue, or maybe we're doing something wrong," and then come to find out, it was just an update that Microsoft was doing, and in about 3-4 hours, the problem was resolved and everything was back to normal. So it can cause some problems. However, it is hard to avoid. It's hard to avoid because there are so many things that are coming out. Like a lot of people don't know about bookings. You can use Microsoft Bookings if you have a Microsoft 365 account to have the system automatically book time for you, where customers can go to a certain URL or users can go to a certain URL and book a meeting with you, and it will automatically show up in your calendar. So that's Bookings. That's there.
I didn't even know that. Wow.
Yeah, and then recently what happened, and this was direct result of user voice and upvotes, adding PSTN recording capability. So in Microsoft Teams, you could always record videos and chats and things like that, but you could not record phone calls to regular phone lines, right? And just recently they added that. So all you have to do is update your policy, and it will allow users to record PSTN calls. There is another request coming in from users, which is to have the ability, number one, to automatically record all calls, and number two, the ability to not have an announcement when you are recording calls that says, this call is being recorded, which that happens even in video calls, right? It will give you a notice that the call is being recorded. Now, that is, and I don't know if Microsoft's going to implement something like that, because other providers like Zoom, they did not used to put a notice in the recording if a meeting was being recorded. But recently they did that to where if anybody's recording a meeting, it will pop up a new screen, and you will have to click on a button to stay in the meeting. Otherwise, it and that's like a privacy issue, right? So I would say companies need to do a better job at that. Leave it up to the organization. I mean, people in companies are smart enough to where they can figure out if they need a legal notice on recordings or not.
Sure.
Leave it up to the user. Give the user the option. Don't take that option away from them and force them to do something specific. But the bottom line is that the rate of change is just I mean, it's just crazy right now. I mean, we and I don't know if it's going to slow down. I don't think it is, just because there is not just enhancements, but new features coming online. New features being added, existing features being tweaked. For example, like message encryption. There, I think it's been like 3 or 4 different iterations of message encryption in Office 365. The way the messages are encrypted. Now we are at a point where we can create labels and automatically encrypt certain types of data when it's either shared or internally, externally, or the content. Based on the content, we can automatically enable encryption. So there's a lot of different things going on, and that's a good thing. What that means is that IT is getting more and more involved on the business side of things.
Yeah.
Right? Because at the end of the day, it's not just IT anymore. IT has to understand the legal aspects of it. They have to understand the business aspects of it. They have to understand the user productivity side of it. I mean, there are still organizations out there who are grappling with people signing up with third-party Office 365 accounts, not knowing any better, approving that their device be managed by the third-party organization's account, and all of a sudden that third-party organization may have things like they may force you to upgrade to Windows 10 Enterprise. So now all of a sudden your user's machine got upgraded to Windows 10 Enterprise. How are you going to roll back? You can't. It's done. Now you have to reformat the machine and start all over. So there needs to be some not really just education, but I think that's IT department as a whole just needs to be more involved in the overall strategy of the business and process and things like that. It's just the industry has just come a long way, and it's just maturing.
So let's, if you don't mind, let's do a slight pivot, because it actually falls in line with something that we're going to be doing in the next week, in the next couple of weeks, actually, with our CEO and small business webinar, where I think these are some of the things you're going to be addressing, because I think gone are the days where IT was strictly for break fix. Now, as you're saying, IT has become an integral part of the overall business. And I think, if you can, just talk a little bit about how important that has become.
Yeah. So, why does IT exist? For efficiency, business efficiency.
Yeah.
So it started off with making the business more efficient, but now we are at a point where we've squeezed that lemon so much that we've introduced other issues. For example, security is a big thing, right?
It is.
So business can be very efficient using IT, but then the dark side is that now we have the bad guys attacking those systems that are making your business more efficient.
Yeah.
Right. So it's more avenues of attack. So IT cannot be what you call the break fix type thing anymore. It's IT is not tactical anymore. It is strategic. And you have to set the strategy for your organization for IT to be successful. And what does that mean? That means the difference between a company that is enjoying, 40, 50% growth year over year versus a company that's enjoying maybe 2 to 3% growth. That's the difference. Is, you know, everybody needs a hat for strategy and another hat for tactics, right? So it's a balance. You can't be 100% strategic because then you fail at the tactical stuff and you fail to implement the strategy. You can't be 100% tactical because then you actually, it's harder. If you're a tactical person, it's harder for you to think about the long-term strategy. So you have to kind of have both. And IT is very quickly becoming like, it's moving from, for example, being the utility, like your electric provider, to now, for example, being your lawyer or your accountant. So IT is just moving up the stack, right? The utility was, it's a commodity, right? I mean, you how do you get utility? You shop around, you go to that website and you find the cheapest provider and you run with it. Why? Because, I mean, energy is energy, right? Electricity is electricity. So I'm going to find the cheapest one, right? It's not like it's going to go out or anything because I chose a wrong provider. The infrastructure is, all under somebody else's control. So whichever energy provider you're going to get, you're probably going to make sure that it's, cheapest or something like that. So it's a commodity. That's the bottom line. Whereas when you need a lawyer, what do? You want to get the best lawyer, right?
Yeah.
You're not looking for the cheapest lawyer. Yeah. You're looking for the best lawyer.
Yeah.
That's where IT is moving into. It's just moving up the stack to where it's more strategic to business and it can define business success. And also it can bring the business down. Wrong strategy can just ruin a business. And we've seen small businesses where they've made the wrong move and it's been very hard for some of them to recover from a bad move.
Yeah. And it's interesting in that now over the last, I guess you can say 20 years, how like you just said, how IT has everything from your finances to corporate compliance, everything now. IT has a hand in, and for me, I think the problem has been a lot of small businesses don't really think of it in that level until something goes wrong. You've seen it, we've seen it. They don't really think about those things, and then all of a sudden, there's a phishing attempt. And like you said so many times before, sure, you got insurance, but your insurance is your cyber insurance is asking, well, does your IT have a compliance plan? Did you follow all of these compliance plans? They do a forensic analysis and find out you didn't, and now you're not getting any money whatsoever because there isn't that forward thinking. And I think that's something you've been screaming from the mountaintop forever.
And we still see, I see a lot of that. I mean, there's still a lot of decision makers out there where they are trying to decide, like, that utility provider, the cheapest one. They're trying to find that cheapest one. They're thinking that if they, that they're okay if they find it. But the problem is there are certain costs to doing things the right way, and it doesn't matter how you skin it. Like if somebody's coming in at, let's say, if somebody's charging you $200 an hour and somebody else is coming in at $100 an hour, I can guarantee you that $100 an hour is not the same level of service that the $200 an hour is providing, right? I mean, it's, people don't just like pull out a number out of thin air and say, okay, I'm going to charge this today. No, it's based on your costs. Your costs are going to be higher if you're providing more services. We've run into situations where we've had to fire customers because they did not want to take our recommendation, and we told them, look, we cannot keep you secure on this plan. We need you to get on this plan because you're not the same company you were 20 years ago. Now, 20 years ago, you were like 30 user company. Now you're a 120 user company. Things have changed.
Yeah.
And the service needs to change to accommodate for that. And some executives don't understand that. It's kind of like what happened with Apple, right? Uh, Steve Jobs brought in that guy from, I think he was from Pepsi, and then Steve Jobs got pushed out. Apple got run into the ground, and then Steve Jobs came back, and now look where Apple's at.
Yeah.
Right. So the thing is that strategic long-term thinking has to change as the company grows.
Yeah.
The thought process has to evolve along with the company, right?
Yeah.
And along with that, we're going to cover a lot of this stuff in our, on the what is it, on the 27th, I believe, 9:00. We're going to have
we have one on the 18th and one on the 27th.
One on the 18th and one on the 27th. Yes, sir. So and we're going to cover a lot of things, and we're going to cover some actual numbers, some facts that you can, kind of take into your decision-making process, because it's like there are so many things that people have these notions, and over time they build these theoretical models when a lot of that is not true.
That's
true. And you have to look at the actual numbers and facts and figures to be able to make the right decisions. And this webinar that we're doing, we're not selling you anything. I mean, actually, it's a cost to us. It's not a profit center to us. We're not making any money. We're not charging you anything. We're actually, I think we're sending Grubhub.
When they come in, they'll be able to get some lunch and breakfast. Breakfast to lunch, yeah.
Right. So it's a big cost. I mean, there's a lot of work involved on the back end. The reason we're doing this is education. Yeah. The reason we're doing this is to make sure that businesses make the right decisions. We're not saying you have to sign up with us no. We're just going to give you the information, then you can make your own decisions. Yeah. And maybe the decision right now would be you want to keep things where they are. Maybe the decision is going to be, in 10 years, you need to have certain things in place, certain services in place. And whether it's through us or somebody else, that's besides the point. The thing is, back when we started like over 20 years ago, we've had so much success. Now we are one of the very few partners who is supporting Azure migrations for South Central and East US. Huge market. I mean, just the other day, I was working with a trading company where we were building an AI system for them, where people can call in and get rates of commodities because they change so often. And instead of having operators look up a table and give this information to people who are calling in, it's all AI based. So the system talks like a natural human voice, but it's really just an automated system. And you can call in, you can send text message, you can reach out by any means and get the information you need. We're living in exciting times, but the thing is that I want to empower every small business in the Houston area. I can't do it across the entire U.S. That's a very big market right there, right? It's just a huge ecosystem. Just in the Houston area, if I can help one small business succeed, then I've done my part.
Yeah,
that's what we want to do, is make sure that small business succeeds in the Houston market. And that's why we're doing this CEO webinar, and hopefully we'll keep doing this. Sometimes we get so bogged down in our day-to-day and stuff, but I think one of the things that we're going to really 2022 is going to be the year that changes as to where we spend a lot of resources on just education, informing the
Yeah.
business community, helping other businesses like
Yeah.
they've helped us.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be here unless, all these businesses and colleagues and people that have helped us through the years.
Yeah.
It's just amazing.
It is amazing, and I, and it's one of the things I love about being here at PCSN is Nadine's pursuit to see other companies make better decisions. And I've seen Nadine put so much effort in our infrastructure and making sure that it works efficiently, and he's come up with a formula that absolutely works. So, now he's trying to bring that and for lack of a better term, evangelize, if you will, what he's done that has helped us be successful and really help, like you said, other small businesses. And if we're being honest, in this climate, with the amount of attacks that have, unfortunately hit small businesses, I think, man, we were looking at an article that was talking about, SMBs and the amount of attacks within the last year alone, and it's increased exponentially. And unfortunately, we've said it in the past, but now more than ever, it's harder for small businesses to recover after an attack as opposed to a big business. A big business can give, a ransom to some, group for, 50 million, and they'll make it back in a matter of days. A small business losing 60, 70,000, totally different.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, and we'll talk more about it in our
Yeah.
webinar. We're going to empower you to make the right decisions for your business. If you are interested, if you haven't got, reach out to Mac at PC.Solutions.Net, or you can call in. But we're going to have a Q&A session in there as well. So if you have any questions, come with all your questions. We'll try to get all of them answered best we can. And I think with that, Mac, I think we'll call it a day.
Sure.
With it's Friday, the weather's nice, and I've still got a few calls to make.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, thanks everyone, and have a great day, and we'll see you on the 18th.